Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by Obang Metho, who's a human rights activist and executive director of the Solidarity Movement for a New Ethiopia. He's on the line from Addis Ababa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me. You're very welcome.
All right, let's talk a little bit about when you say a vision for a new Ethiopia, in the context of what's going on now, what does that mean?
Thank you so much for inviting me. That's a very good question in the context of what's going on right now. It's an Ethiopia where every individual is valued by your humanity, not ethnicities. I think most of the people who don't really know what's going on in Ethiopia, the TPLF who are fighting now when they came to power in 1991, they introduced what they call ethnic federalism, which is pretty much institutionalized tribalisms. They ethnicize Ethiopian peoples. So when I talk about the new Ethiopia, an Ethiopia where we value the people as a citizen of the country, this is the only country in the world where the people are given three identities. Number one, they call it nation, nationality, and people groups. So for the TPLF being a tiny ethnic groups, in order, they only make up 6% of the population. Ethiopia had more than 86 different ethnic groups. One ethnic group that is make up 6% of the population came to power with the support of the West in 1991, and they introduced this constitution that defined Ethiopian as a people and nation and nationality group rather than in any civilized society. They have we the people of that country. Ethiopia doesn't, preamble of Ethiopia doesn't say we the people of Ethiopia, it says we the tribe in a way. So when we look into this, the problem of Ethiopia is institutionalized tribalism, which is ethnic federalism, which was set up by the TPLF, like a prenup agreement. When in the West, when a rich person marries a poor person, they make sure that the poor person signed a prenup. And the TPLF introduced this constitution, which made every Ethiopian as a tribe first, citizen second, or even third. So when we talk in terms of that, this is exactly what I expected. But a few years back, I looked into this. The problem of Ethiopia will explode unless they change the direction where they are going. So the new Ethiopia was talking about failure of the government to do something about it. That's why we are in the mess we are in today.
With the Prime Minister saying he's going to the battlefront, encouraging citizens to do the same, and we're seeing prominent Ethiopians, Haile Gebrselassie, to mention one, going to the front to defend Ethiopia, as it's being termed. Is that not adding fuel to the fire and making it harder to find a way back?
Yeah, the thing is, when you look into this, these wars is almost now exactly over a year. And within the last, 1 year, thousands and thousands of people have died. So many people have suffered. And when you look into this, earlier that, in June, the Ethiopian government pulled out from the Mekelle. And pretty much that the government pulled out from the Mekelle, they declared ceasefire. The TPLF didn't believe in it. The TPLF started fighting their way out and went to Afar and went to Amara region. So pretty much the war has never been, since June, the war has been outside the Mekelle, in Amara regions, in the Afar regions. So since that time, then, it seemed to be that loss of town after town being captured by this. And I think that people thought maybe these things can be solved. I think for the government, for our prime ministers and other people to do this, I think they come to the point of realizing that unless they do something, the TPLF will not stop the march to Addis. And I think this is a way of them saying that back up, we cannot do it. And again, this is not wholly the work of the TPLF. This is the work of even the Western. If you look at the Western media, CNN, BBC, New York Times, Washington Post, all they are, pretty much that disinformation. They have a false narrative, which is really siding with the TPLF. Because in the last 27 years, the TPLF run Ethiopia. And they run Ethiopia with the bankroll of the West, even for them to come to power. Washington, D.C. and State Department really brought him to them. And I think they came to realize that working with Abiy is not good enough, so that, somehow supporting the TPLF. I think Abiy and some of these like Haile are coming to say that, back up the West and back up the TPLF, and we will do this. But as you say, that it's really, I think it come to the point where these guys may have taken that they have no choice but to fight back.
I'm hearing this story quite a bit, that Western media has taken a side, and that they're spreading propaganda and interfering in Ethiopia's affairs. What is the propaganda that they're spreading? What are they saying that's not true?
Absolutely, lots of things that they're saying is not true. For instance, they were saying it's almost 3 weeks now since the State Department and some of the West are saying that get out of Addis, get out of Addis. Even the CNN did a documentary in 2019, and that documentary, they took the pictures and saying that these are the soldiers of the TPLF out of skirt of Addis, which is absolutely wrong. And then what are the other things they're doing? If you look at the narrative, they're saying, for instance, there were more than, I think 400 trucks of food that had been taken to Mekelle. Only 100 returned. The Western media didn't cover that. They talk of the TPLF being blocked, from getting access to humanitarian. But the TPLF has also blocked the rest other Ethiopians in the Amhara region, in the Apar region. They don't report that. So pretty much it become a cherry-picking thing, which is something that we can go back. This seems to be the pattern. At one time we look at it before the, Saddam was attacked. It was Saddam, Usama, when also that, Gaddafi before the attack. The same things that's happening. So in other words, the Ethiopians felt that the TPLF were the group that we used to work with the West know them, and then the relationship between them is just more deeper than that. So for this, I can say precisely that the false narrative, the disinformation, the lie, it is obvious. It's all over, and you don't need a rocket science to find it out. And this narrative is true. The Ethiopian know it, the Western know it. So the way they present the reports and what's going on in Ethiopia is absolutely wrong. And another thing, they use this psychological trauma, get out before the airline, commercial airline stop. Ethiopia is not like Arab countries where you see them, they blew up themselves at the airport, at the hospital. Ethiopians are not people of that, where they commit, suicidal or do this kind of. But the way they reported it, it is absolutely wrong.
All right. We're running out of time, but perhaps finally you can help explain. We've just shown images now of what's happening in Addis Ababa. People wearing orange uniforms, searching people's cars. And Human Rights Watch came out with a report saying that ethnic Tigrayans are being forcibly disappeared, and they're being arrested literally just for being Tigrayan or suspected of being Tigrayan. How can we then look at these images and say that Addis is also innocent?
Absolutely. What we are saying is not, I wouldn't say that Addis is innocent. You could say, as someone who is speaking for the human right, I condemn this kind of thing. But again, this is the work of why I call this new Ethiopia. The TPLF introduced this idea. Ethiopia is a country where the ID card will put your ethnicity. The TPLF has done this. It's now coming back to bite them. This is one thing that about 18 years ago, I wrote a letter to Mallas. Setting a structure by ethnicity will harm you, will hurt you. After that, I wrote it to the TPLF Central Committee. After that, I wrote it to the Tigrayan people and said that say it's not in my name. These letters, you can find them on the website. So what's happening now? Recently in Dasse, in Kombolcha, there were peoples of the Tigrayan ethnicity who went and joined the TPLF, and then attack took place. As a result, they had a backlash. The rest of Ethiopia had become afraid. And this is what the ethnic politics does. It brings you to divide the family, us, and burst them. So what's happening in Addis is the result of that. It's also the result of these psychologically trauma of these Western others saying that Addis is falling, Ethiopians will kill each other. So it makes people to have anxiety and feeling uncomfortable. So yes, what's happening in Addis, as someone who cares about the social, about the well-being of Ethiopia, it's disturbing, and we have been calling the government there to make sure that they don't target ethnic Tigrayan just for being a Tigrayan. So whoever wrong, whoever committed a crime should be held accountable, not hold ethnic groups. And this is the result of these fear-mongering that things are going to blow up in Ethiopia. It's also that the work of the TPLF by trying to join their own ethnic groups who live in those regions where they control and harming the other Ethiopians. So in other words, there's a big problem of Ethiopia, but this problem can be solved by Ethiopians, not foreigners trying to put a field under fires. Ethiopians are capable of resolving this problem by themselves, sitting down to talk to each other, not about each other without intervention of other people. So what Ethiopians have is recently hashtag called no more to Western intervention, no more to war, no more to ethnic federalism, no more to violence. So, but this is an issue that can be solved by Ethiopia. It is created by Ethiopian, but Ethiopian can solve it. But other people, what we are telling them to back up, Ethiopian can do this. We are capable of solving our own problem.
All right, Mr. Metho, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very, very much indeed for joining us and sharing your thoughts about the situation in Ethiopia. Thank you for your time.